Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our Week 9 fantasy football waiver wire pickups. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who you should target this week on the waiver wire and who you should avoid. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin. Kyle points at himself. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. Boy, we're getting right in the middle of bye week roster manipulation and the ongoing COVID crisis. We have a couple issues coming up on this Thursday night game as well.
Yeah, lots of injuries everywhere, man.
Injuries everywhere. We have 4 teams on bye again. So we're here to kind of help you maneuver throughout the season to help you win that championship. And with that, today we're giving you our top waiver wire ads for Week 9. Kyle, what you got?
Yeah, guys, it's time for that championship push. So, make sure that you are clicking that subscribe button as well as the bell so you're notified every time that we are uploading this podcast so that we can help you get across the finish line this year, get you to that playoff, and get you into that position to win that championship. Today, we're talking about waiver wire pickups. These guys are all owned or rostered rather than owned. They're all rostered less than 60% on Yahoo. It's just the benchmark we like to use here.
Yep.
Week 9 is what we're looking at. We're hoping that Week 8 had some good info for you and helped you out. You can check out the Week 8 waiver wire up top up there and get a couple extra names maybe that we don't drop today. So you can also drop a question down in the comments below because we're always asking. And we're here to help. We are here to help you get what you're looking for, which is that championship. We actually like doing it, guys. We like helping out. We get some good questions, some tough ones, actually, some really good, tough ones. So let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end and get moving here on top waiver pickups. We've got 8 names. Actually, we've got 10 names for you today. A little bonus, right? A little sprinkle in. All right. So let's hit it up here quick. We're going to go straight to running back here, Justin. What do you have as your top running back pickup?
JaMycal Hasty, San Francisco 49ers. He wasn't rather efficient. Touchdowns kind of saved his day. So he had 12 rushes, 29 yards, a touchdown. And he also turned that around and had 1 catch for 2 yards and a touchdown. He did fumble though. So that is one thing to keep an eye on. But he was outsnapped by Jerick McKinnon in this game, but he outtouched him. And that's what we're really looking for as well, is how many touches do you get? Some people may say, well, what about Tevin Coleman? Well, Tevin Coleman came back from the IR, and Tevin Coleman is hurt after 3 carries. It really stings me. I'm an IU grad, and he's from, he played at IU, so it's really tough, but you just can't count on that. So this whole backfield is kind of murky. But I kind of think the 49ers are going to have to rely on that rushing even more because good old Nick Mullins is going to get called up right now because Jimmy G's hurt as well. So a lot of things going on right there with the 49ers.
Didn't CJ Beathard end up getting played time last time Garoppolo went down?
Yes, so I feel like this is something where you may have both at some point because I think it was all around ineffectiveness by Nick Mullins, but that's what Shanahan has come out and said. It's Nick Mullins right now.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and give us your honorable mention here? Yeah, your little sprinkle.
My little sprinkle. So this is a guy, we're not saying go out and grab him or anything like that. He's only rostered in 25% of fantasy leagues out there, and he's DeeJay Dallas of the Seattle Seahawks. This all has to depend on the fact that Chris Carson and or Carlos Hyde, I actually think both would have to be out. Both of them would have to be out for him to be effective and to actually get touches. But he finished with 18 fantasy points last week, and that was 6th best for running backs. And he played 80% of the snaps. So if both of those guys are out, fire him up if he's still out there after the waiver wire is clear.
Yeah. I mean, running back was actually not that productive this week. I mean, you had several guys out, several guys on bye. Like James Robinson was on bye. Aaron Jones was on bye. He was out with an injury. Then you've got CMC out. You've got Saquon. You've got all these guys. Zeke was trash, I think, this week as well. Just terrible, rough week. And to that end, speaking of another person who was not very good this last week, and that's Jonathan Taylor, I'm going to go with Jordan Wilkins here as my waiver wire pickup. I think that Wilkins is probably the guy to own. If you're in PPR, you're leaning more towards Nyheim Hines. So Jonathan Taylor's not getting the job done right now. I sent a video to Justin earlier that was Jonathan Taylor with a giant hole to the left running right and into his own lineman. Like there was no hole. It was just a mash of people. There was a good block around the edge that would not have been holding. All he has to do is just bounce it and go.
And what did I respond with?
I don't remember. Oh, yeah. You said, yeah. What'd you say? You said it looks like
Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it kind of looked like. All those
it did.
that you saw. And
yeah. So after the game, Rivers said that Jonathan Taylor was nicked up. Now, I mean, he got 30-something yards. It wasn't that good. But Jordan Wilkins actually had 20 attempts last week, and he went for 89 yards and a touchdown. This week's not going to be great. So while you might make this pickup, this is a long-term pickup. And as a result, you can ignore the fact that he's going to be up against Baltimore this week, and you can grab him maybe a little bit cheaper because that's going to prevent some teams who may not have bench space or need something this coming week because of buys to fill in, and they would only be looking at him as a short-term solution. So this might be actually an advantageous spot to grab him. And look, you can't ignore that this is an awesome running offensive line, as long as the runner hits the hole.
That's the thing is people are really talking about the offensive line being ineffective when it comes to run blocking. Yeah. And I think a lot has to do with the fact we're really missing Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
He was patient, but then he knew when to hit a hole. And that's what's missing right now.
Yep. All right, let's move on here to wide receiver. We have wide receiver for you. What do you got?
So we just went from the Colts for running back. We're going to wide receiver for your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, just point right up there. And it's Alan Lazard. He's rostered in only 34%. I'm looking at this as the fact that he's coming off the IR here very, very soon. He practiced twice last week, so that most likely means that he was pretty close. They already pulled him.
They've active him off of the IR. It's IR to return, but he's not on the 53. So he's in that 21-day window. Yes. And he's about 5-6 days in at this point to that window. So,
yep. I think it's one of those things where I still look at this as a smart pickup, even if he doesn't play this week. So definitely, hold back a little bit. You're not going out there and spending a whole bunch on your fab or anything like that. But, the Packers are they're starving for a second wide receiver on this offense.
Yeah.
And I'm preaching to the choir when I'm looking at you.
These guys have not stepped up. Nobody has, really. I mean, Malik Taylor's had a couple catches, a touchdown. Equanimous St. Brown has had several drops. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has done next to nothing. And it's now starting to creep into Devontae Adams getting double covered. And that's becoming problematic. So if you have Alan Lazard out there, the running game's more effective because he's a very good blocker. And he's going to draw attention away from Devontae Adams because he will burn teams down the seam easily enough.
Yeah. After Adams's game last week, so during that game, 4 other wide receivers had a whopping 1 catch apiece.
Yep.
That was
against a trash secondary. And just I mean, now I will say that the referees were not helping, and that's not me being a homer on it. Like to pick up something that was like the definition of pass interference when Robert Tonyan got turned around by the defender and the ball hit the defender in the back after they landed on the ground.
Yeah.
That's interference. And the referee was that was Dean Blandino. He's like, you can't pick that one up. These guys might not be working next week. It's like when that guy's saying that, you messed up.
Right. You done.
So there was a little bit of that stuff. And Irv Smith, pick him up if your team awards or if your league awards points for holding that doesn't get called. Because there were 4 of them that they ran right by him. And it's like Dalvin Cook I had Dalvin Cook. You should be angry about it because Irv Smith held at least 4 times that he ran right by it.
Goodness.
There you go. Anyway.
All right. Who do you have?
The Packers. What you got? Okay. I have 2 guys here, actually. I'm going to have an honorable mention for you. I've got Marvin Jones. He's 49% rostered right now.
Ooh.
He's
what
back.
Are you thinking on? Yeah, what are you thinking on how much you would put down on a fab budget?
Well,
If you have to ask, big man, you can't afford it.
you can't afford it. If you have to ask, it's all the budget. Look, he's back. He's back. Now, here's the thing, okay? He got 2 touchdowns. That's the primary amount of his value that came up this week.
Right.
He had 3 catches for 7 targets, which is nice to see the 7 targets. But
Right.
he only had 39 yards on the game, which is not great. But what we have here is a spot for him to possibly excel. So you're making a bet on him actually catching on finally. That maybe this broke the dam for him because Golladay is now set as word is day to day. But the talk as of right now, as we're recording this, is that they might be putting him onto IR. Whether that's short term or long term, I'm betting it'll be short term. But the result might be that Marvin Jones gets moving on things, and he's a touchdown machine when he gets going. So I think that he and Hawkinson are probably the biggest beneficiaries of the passing game with Golladay missing time. If Golladay doesn't miss time, I would spend a little bit less of my budget on Marvin Jones if he's available, but it appears that he might have finally figured out how to play football again, and that would be a good thing.
Maybe he's finally recovered from the ankle injury because it was like week 14 last year. So it wasn't like it was right at the beginning of the season. So
that might be, yeah. Okay, so here's my honorable mention. It is also in the Detroit Lions. Again, with Golladay down, you have to then look at what happened at the beginning of the season as well. Because Golladay missed, I think, the first 2 games of the season. And in both of those games, it appears that Quintez Cephus actually was getting the targets that Golladay vacated, and he is rostered in a whole 0% of leagues right now, and his targets were up significantly when Golladay was out. So it looks like he's almost a 1-for-1 replacement when it comes to those targets. So while it does look like it's advantageous to Hawkinson and Marvin Jones, and that's a good thing, Quintez Cephus is somebody that you really, really need to consider. I wouldn't spend a dime on him, and somebody's probably going to buy him in your league or pay for him. And I would suggest that if you miss out on getting Marvin Jones, that he's your backup. He's the guy that you're going to get. Either you're going to, throw like 5% of your remaining budget on him, or you're just going to wait and see if he clears and then pick him up. So that's where I'm at. What do you got on tight end?
Tight end. This guy has made our tight end waivers a couple times now, and it's Eric Ebron, Pittsburgh Steelers. He's at 45% right now rostered, and he's been floating around that low end tight end 1, high end tight end 2. He's just been kind of hanging around that range, but he's coming off a really good game against the Baltimore Ravens, which I don't know if you heard about this, Kyle. They're pretty good defense, but he put up 5 targets, 4 catches, 48 yards, and a touchdown. And so going from the Ravens,
that touchdown was absurdly open. I don't know if you saw it.
It was.
He ran in.
Saw the clip
he didn't get touched, and he ran in like on a crossing pattern from like the 10-yard line.
I'm surprised he didn't drop it then. It was wide open because that's his usual drop. He makes those hard catches, but
the fingertips sliding in the back of the end zone, like hanging over the line.
He'll make those all day long.
All day long.
The easy ones.
Yeah. Well, you and I classify them as easy. To him, it's a concentration issue.
He just gets bored.
He got bored. That ball's really in the air. It's like not getting hit. Nobody's gonna hit me.
So he had a pretty good game against the Ravens, and now they're going to go against the Dallas Cowboys. So whole lot of no D being played.
That is, that's one end of the spectrum to the other. When
it really is.
Defensive effectiveness.
Big D, no D. But Ebron is actually seeing the field a lot more than I thought he would this year, especially being he's primarily just a receiving tight end. He has never been known for any kind of blocking prowess. But right now he's 13th in the league in pass routes, and I foresee that to continue and possibly go up as this connection with Big Ben continues, man. So that's who I have as my tight end waiver wire. What do you have?
I'm going to ring the bell again, going right back to it. That's Trey Burton.
Right back to my team.
Trey Burton. I'm ringing that bell again, guys. Pick him up. It's 22% rostered right now. That's kind of absurd. Now, look, Jack Doyle got a touchdown last week, right? Burton still finished the day as tight end 7 overall. What was it?
7.
That's
7
right.
miles an hour.
So the last 2 weeks that they've had games, they had a bye week in between. He was tight end 1 and tight end 7, right? And so why is he still available in nearly 75% of leagues is amazing. He's had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games, and he's only 2 bad tight end matchups this season. left this season. So he's got a beautiful schedule the rest of the way. He sees Green Bay, and I forget who the other one is that are really good against tight end, but it's mostly for Green Bay. It's mostly because you shouldn't throw the ball.
You just run it.
Run. Yeah.
Just run.
Yeah. Just run and let your tight ends hold. So if Trey Burton can hold, then Jonathan Taylor or Jordan Wilkins should have a really good game that day.
I really like this waiver wire pickup because they're really manufacturing ways to get the ball in Trey Burton's hands. He scored a touchdown by rushing. He was in the Wildcat. I mean, he was a former college
he's had two out of the last three touchdowns. 2 out of his 3 touchdowns on the year actually have been rushing touchdowns. One was for 1 yard, and he had 2 touchdowns that day. So
they're really
my goodness,
manufacturing ways to get him.
A tight end who has 2 touchdowns in a game upside. Potential tight end 1 every week. Like that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. All right, let's go with QB. What you got here for me?
All right, QB. This is a guy I'm more looking as a streamer right now when it comes to this. So if you do need to put a little money down, you can. But it's Kirk Cousins. He's rostered only 28%, and it's because they're going against the Detroit Lions this week that gave up 262 yards and 3 touchdowns to good old man Rivers of my Colts. I don't foresee the Vikings running the ball 34 times and throwing it just 14 this coming week. The Lions at least have somewhat of a decent run defense compared to your boys, the Packers, who all you have to do is just run the ball and you have a shot, which I feel like I mentioned that last week.
Yeah, I think that the big problem is that they've got 2 of their middle linebackers out with injuries, so they are down to their like 3rd or 4th string guys. So they've pulled people off of the practice squad. Makes it a little bit hard when that's your play caller on the defense to do anything. So
but to go back on Kirk, I'm looking, if he gets at least 30 pass attempts, this would be a really good way to stream in a quarterback. The reason why I said it's more of a streaming, you might be able to pick him up this week and then maybe sit him if you can next week, because next week, week 10, going against the Bears. But then you come back around and you're going against the Cowboys. Yeah. So it's like, you got to kind of compare and kind of see what your roster is right now and see if that's a possibility to hold on to him for a week. So what do you have as your waiver wire quarterback?
I'm going back to the bell. Make sure you check out last week's waiver wire episode because I'm hitting it up again, and that is Derek Carr. He is only 42% rostered right now. He had a down week this last week, so you're going to be able to get him a little bit cheaper. Why did he have a down week last week? Because they were playing in the mud. And apparently Josh Jacobs is really good in the mud.
He likes to play in the mud.
Yeah. So they decided to just run a ton with Josh Jacobs. And I don't think that Derek Carr had that many attempts at all. Still, the rest of the schedule is cake. It is cake. And so you should go get him. One name that I did want to mention, but he'll probably pop up in our streamers, is actually Drew Lock. And
you know what? I know. Actually,
why?
I had a hard time.
Why?
I had a hard time.
What's the answer? What's the answer? Why mention Drew Lock? Us who hate the Denver QB situation. Why?
Who are they going
because they're going against Atlanta. That is right. They're going against Atlanta. You better march out Drew Lock.
So
somebody better fire him out.
Chance.
Yeah. Why? Because Atlanta against the QB is the worst. That's right.
Nice.
So make sure you go and get him as well. If you've got a rotatable spot, then that's a start this week for you. If you don't, and you're looking for something long term, go for Derek Carr. This is the week to get him. You get him.
That's called a tease right now, heading into our streamers episode that will be released in a couple days.
Yep. That's right. I am sure that you'll see him on there.
Yeah,
sure of it, guys. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the waiver wire episode for week 9. Make sure that you double check that you are following what falls onto your waiver wire after the waivers are processed so that you can grab anything that hits there that's worth grabbing, because, hey, bye week apocalypse is hitting people right now along with injuries. I mean, I've been sitting some big running backs lately. It's not been fun. Anyway, that's going to do it for the waiver wire episode. Next episode will be, I think, the Thursday night episode. So we'll give that to you tomorrow. We'll see you then. Thanks for being a fan of the Upside. Bye.
See you guys.